Measure 5, we have some rolls. Make sure you emphasize downbeats 1 and 2. It doesn't need to be a super loud accent, but put some emphasis so it has a bit more shading, a bit more color to it. You'll have to decide what roll base to use for these two rolls in measure 5. I started by using a 5-stroke roll with a 16th note roll base, but at this tempo and with my hands and the way my multiple bounds sound, it wasn't dense enough. It was too grainy. So I moved it up to a 7-stroke roll with like a 16th note triplet background. I'll show you the two ones. First, I'll play as a 5, then as a 7, 5, 7, just so you can compare the two different sounds. So here we go, measure 5. All right, those are 5s. This is 7. So, okay, I did the opposite of what I was going to tell you. I did a bunch of 5s and a bunch of 7s. But you can kind of hear the density change. I prefer a little denser sound, so I went with a 7-stroke roll in there. Going into measure 6, two things to think about. Save the dynamic. You start at piano. Keep it piano for a beat and a half, 2 beats. Whatever your ears hear, just keep your volume down and save that crescendo. The reason is the crescendo is 2 bars long, and you want to have enough room to get loud by the end of it. Sometimes when I practiced this the past couple weeks, I would get too loud too soon, and I'd run out of space to get louder towards the end of the roll in measure 7. So save the roll. 2, set some guideposts. This helps me achieve this saving the roll idea. In measure 6, on beat 4, I would have a goal of achieving a mezzo piano-ish volume when I hit that single stroke on beat 4. That would give me enough room to go from mezzo piano to forte at the end of measure 7. I'll just play that for you one time so you can hear what that might sound like. So save the roll, set some guideposts. Your volume choices might be different. That's fine. Just make sure to pay attention to that. Now, measure 8, measure 9, we have a metric modulation going on. Now, metric modulation can be simply described as this. The accents in 8 become the new tempo in 9. The accents in 8 become the new tempo in 9. Once again, I'm going to rely on my trusty right hand to play all of the accents in that measure. That way it can be consistent. One of the things I noticed when I listened to some student snare drum playing is in order to create a huge contrast, the accents are here, the unaccented notes are here. Avoid that in this situation. What you want to do is make sure you're playing forte for the unaccented notes and then an accented forte, of course. There needs to be a clear contrast, but don't make it so drastic. One of the musical items here is this metric modulation. If people only hear those accents, the metric modulation isn't a surprise. It's not cool. It won't be interesting. So make sure you keep your unaccented and accent within the same range, kind of, to be able to create this surprise of, oh, there's a new tempo. Oh, it was the accents from before. So those are two things to think about for this transition from 8 into 9. And the last thing in this segment is how to practice this modulation. You can program your metronome if you're good at that. You could record yourself playing drum set and put the change in there. But the problem is you just can't turn your metronome on and have it create a steady beat for these two different tempo. So what you want to do is set it to 156, then start at measure 8 instead of measure 9, and just play your right hand on all of the clicks for the metronome while you're playing as written for 8, and then when you hit 9, you're going to be able to play in the proper tempo. So that's one way to practice this tempo change.